124 miles of dirt, and we're finally reaching pavement again. Hey, that dark smudge in the sky up there is actually smoke from a forest fire off to our right, and we're hoping we're not camping in the smoke tonight. Well, Linda and I just rolled out of the mountains, and we've been camping for a couple days in the Helena National Forest. Now we're headed up into the Lewis-Clark National Forest, but we just entered the town of White Sulphur Springs. Behind us here is part of the old White Sulphur Springs Railway that went between here and Yellowstone back in the day. It started around 1910. Well, that's when the depot was built there, yeah? Right. 1910.
As part of that railway system.
Right. Well, we want to show you a little bit of White Sulphur Springs because it is a pretty little town. It's a great jumping off point for central Montana. You're on the edge of the Lewis and Clark National Forest, and you're on the edge of the Helena National Forest with all the camping that offers. There's also Camp Baker, which is about 30 miles from here, and that's where, if you want to float the Smith River,
which you have to put in a application for. It's not, you just don't just show up and float.
Right, and you've got to do that like a year in advance. Right. But Camp Baker is where you put in to float the Smith River, and that's near here. There's a lot to do in this area. There's full hookups here in town at the RV, at an RV park here, plus all the camping available too.
Oh, and there's that motel that has the hot springs incorporated into the motel's motel.
Right, there is the actual hot springs too. So we'll show you a little bit of White Sulphur Springs here. Well, at one time, a lot of wealthy people here lived here in White Sulphur Springs because of the ranching and the mining. So there's some nice homes here in town. The Big Love Bus. I was a hippie once. I can relate to that RV. Not the kind of thing you'd expect to find in a small town like White Sulphur Springs. Hey, a railroad baron or cattle baron? I wish I could find out, but they're closed.
The only castle in Montana. Built in 1892 by Byron Roger Sherman, the castle of White Sulphur Springs is poised on the highest point in town, overlooking the Smith River Valley. Built using stones from the Castle Mountain themselves, this building is as sturdy as it is old. The house is adorned with the finest materials and artwork. In the castle, there are brilliant wood floors with exotic oriental rugs and marble bathrooms. The entire Victorian-style castle is made from solid granite rock hauled from the Castle Mountains by oxen. When you are on the upper level and look out any window, you can see a spectacular view to the west and south, the entire Smith River Valley and the Castle Mountains, to the north, the entire Little Belt Mountains, and to the east, the Crazy Mountains. The castle is truly fit for a king and has been very well preserved over the years by the Mayor County Historical Society, both interior and exterior.
So a lot of years ago, Linda and I came to White Sulphur Springs for the first time, and we saw this mansion up here, and we drove up to see what it was all about. And we walked in, and there was a lady at the front desk. I'll generously call her a lady, but we saw that you could pay admission, and but we wanted to know what were we paying admission for. We didn't know what it was, and we asked her. We says, "What is this house all about?" And she says, "If you want to know anything, you'll have to pay your admission." So we just quietly turned around and left.
Yeah, and I think they were just starting to improve it and open it as a exhibit, you know.
We just wanted to know what Linda just read you, and then we would have gladly paid for our admission and gone and looked around. But her attitude was people are funny, aren't they?
Some people.
Some people's kids. This is the homecoming parade. Well, we didn't know any of this was happening. We just caught this by chance. Homecoming parade. I like that. They're throwing candy at me. Boy, talk about perfect timing. Well, Linda and I are at the Red Ants Pants store, workwear for women. They opened up 10 years ago, and if you have always been frustrated by not being able to, if you're a lady and you've always found it frustrating not to be able to find Carhartts to fit, then this is your store. Yeah, they seriously do make workwear, heavy-duty workwear, but for women. So you know how you can't get those hips to fit? Well, this is your place then. And work shorts too. Yeah, men's hips tend to be straight and women's hips tend to curve. And you can shop here via mail order too, redantspants.com. There's also the Red Ants Pants Music Festival. They didn't have it in 2020, but they have it every year. July 28th to the 31st is when they have it. And they bring in a lot of big bands too. This is from 2016, this one. Oh, there's different years here. This one's from 2019. Look, they had the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band back in 2015. Leanne Womack. Look at that. They bring in some big names for a little store like this.
Lyle Lovett.
2011, Lyle Lovett. Jerry Jeff Walker. And look at this from this year, 2021, at Taj Mahal. They do bring in some big names. So this is Sarah. She's the owner of Red Ants Pants, and we want to just thank you very much for letting us look around your store and peek in the cupboards and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You're always welcome.
Hey, that's pretty impressive. We just looked at all the posters, and you bring in some big names.
We sure have had a lot of good musicians here in White Sulphur.
Yeah.
Merle Haggard and Emmylou Harris, Taj Mahal, Dwight Yoakam,
Yeah.
Randy Carlisle. Lots of good ones.
Yeah. How did you do that?
Oh man, it's a lot of work from a lot of people.
Yeah, but you started out your very first year bringing them in.
Yeah, we sure did, and worked with some folks that were really closely tied in with the music industry those first couple of years, and it's been working really well ever since.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you next year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, we ended up in a pretty nice camp spot. Nicest one on this trip. Coffee's brewing. Hey, what you think of the campground?
It's really nice. I didn't expect this. I mean, you know, you did, but you did it.
Yeah.
And we're right next to the creek.
Yeah, it's pretty down there too. I was just there.
If it was warmer, a nice place to splash around in.
This is the Moose Creek Campground in the southern portion of the Lewis and Clark National Forest, not too far from White Sulphur Springs, where we just had lunch. But White Sulphur Springs is a good jumping off place. This is the kind of place you end up in. This campground is $15 a night, $7.50 a night for us old people. Linda wants to show you the nice koozie she made out of a piece of Reflectix and some Gorilla Tape. And this is on, let me pull it off the bottom here. That's a Stanley espresso pot. We don't use the, or French press pot rather. And we don't use that part of it. We just make cowboy coffee, but this turned out pretty well. It's like that. So when we let the coffee steep for about 4 minutes in that, it keeps coffee hot. Yeah, this is a beautiful campground. But this fella here, he was not welcome in our camp. No, you keep moving, guy. Keep moving along. No, up the hill, go on. Bye. Well, the photographs of that bear were taken just outside the entrance to this campground. And I generally don't like to camp right next to a creek or a river because the sound of that water makes it so you can't hear anything else. It makes it hard to hear a car coming or to hear approaching people talking, or to hear a bear that smells you just from downwind. He's downwind of you, he smells you. What a bear tends to do is when they pick up an odor, they chuff. And it's kind of like a sneeze, but they're basically clearing their olfactory and they're so they can smell you better, and you'll hear them making this chuffing noise, and that alerts you that there's a bear downwind of you. But anyways, when you're right next to the creek, you can't hear that either. I like to be camped in quiet places where I can hear what's going on around me. Here's a nice trail out the backside of camp. Looks like an interesting place to go. Go and explore. Well, this past few days, Linda and I got to actually get out and explore some areas that we hadn't been to before. And that was kind of fun for us. But now it's time for us to head back home. This weekend, let's see, this is Wednesday, and by Monday we're supposed to get our first snow here.
Yeah, we don't want to be standing here when the snow comes.
No, we don't. But we hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for coming along with us. See you around.